In this video, we'll be looking into the important concepts of second module, that is understanding the XP, and under Agile Technologies subject. So starting from the first topic in second module we have is XP lifecycle. So XP lifecycle is, it mainly comprises of these parts. Okay, so the first one is plan here, and then here we have the analysis, design, code and test. Along with that we have deployment here. So these are like it happens. These are the processes which happen iteratively. So each life cycle occurs within a span of 1 week. Okay, so looking at the theory part here. So XP lifecycle is a dynamic and iterative process focused on improving the software quality and responsiveness to changing customer requirements. So XP emphasizes collaboration, simplicity, feedback, making it highly adaptable to the needs of the project. So these are like the intro part of XP. Let's look into each one of these factors. Okay, so first one we have is the planning. So planning is it is like the foundation for our project. So here we define the scope, then we come up with user stories. So we define the user stories, which are like simple, informal descriptions of features or functionalities could be done here. After that, we set the priorities depending on which project or depending on which requirement should happen first. So prioritization happens from business perspective and from the technical perspective also. Then we determine the time frame, that is how much time will each of the functionality take to get executed and when will we release it, anta. Then planning ensures that the team understands the customer needs and expectations. So only when we understand the customer needs and expectations, it will be easy for us to move further and design the particular requirements. Then we have creation of user stories. That's what I told. User stories should be simple, informal description of what the customer has said. Then release planning. Release planning will be as and when our functionality is completed, the features have been completed, we'll keep on releasing it. Okay. Then iteration planning. Iteration planning is the same thing. In each iteration, we'll be delivering a particular software which would be an advancement of the previously built software. So this was about the planning part. Coming to design part. Design part is the next, the second sequence. After planning we have analysis, right? So after planning we have analysis, and in analysis we ensure that the team carefully understands what the requirements are before like coding begins. So it minimizes the misunderstandings and reworks, keeping project aligned with the customer's expectations. So once we take the requirements, it is very important to analyze those requirements. It is very important to validate and perform like all the various operations, be it negotiation, validation, elicitation and all of that. After that only we can come to a conclusion that okay, whatever the requirements we have taken are valid enough, we can further move on to building the designing part. Okay, so this was about the intro part. Next we have detailed user story review. So developers and customers review and refine the user stories. So they sit together, have a meeting, they have a conversation with each other, and then they come up with clear and detailed description for the implementation part. Task breakdown only a big entire user story is broken down into smaller subtasks in which each and every task gets completed. Okay, so in one iteration one task would get completed. Then we have the acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria is the team will define the acceptance criteria for each story, for each task. Okay, so this task, if it holds good for our project, then we'll keep it, or if not, we can set the priority to low in that particular case. One thing main here is the communication. So we make sure that the team fully understands about the requirements before the coding starts. Here, in order to avoid any misconception, we make use of ubiquitous language. We'll study what this is in the third module. Okay, so this was about the analysis part. Next we have is the design part. So in design, we tend to design a simple, understandable model instead of going with the over-engineered design. Okay, so it should be maintainable and adaptable code. So XP encourages us to design simple, straightforward models which meet the current requirement without over-engineering it. Whatever the models we design should be maintainable and adaptable code. That is, if I show this design to my stakeholder and he or she says that I have to do certain changes, then those changes should be inculcated in my design. Then we have system metaphor. System metaphor is the team might develop a system metaphor to guide the design or provide a shared vision on how the system will work. Then we have CRC cards. CRC cards is class responsibility collaboration cards. We have studied this in SAPM, right? So the same functionality of it. Then we have the design reviews. Yeah, again, holding a panel of stakeholders and the teammates or the developers can help us to review the design, scrutinize it properly, identify any potential issues which could arise because of this, and then work upon it and rectify it. That was about the design part. Next we have is the coding. So in coding part, it is the heart of XP process. So here we perform pair programming. In pair programming, like two developers work together at one workstation. One could be writing the code, other one could be testing the code. Then we have the test-driven development. Test-driven developmentally, we write the code, and then before execution, we make sure that it is tested. Right? Only after testing it, we'll be including it in the further process. So these methodologies should be clear, functional, and well-tested code. So coding should be, the code which we are writing should be clean. That is, it should not comprise of any errors. It should be functional. That is, whatever the tasks have been allocated by the user, our code, whatever code we write, should obey or should be in fulfillment of those requirements. Then we have well-tested code. Well-tested code means the code should be tested at each of the phase. That is what we are doing in the test-driven development. And continuous refactoring. Continuous refactoring happens when we take feedback from the users or the stakeholders or the senior people from the company. That was about these two lines. Then we have version control system. So we make use of version control system in order to emphasize or in order to enable the overall stability of the working software or the working atmosphere. So when I write particular code and when you're working on the next code, we need to integrate these codes, right? Or when both the team members are working on a certain part of code, then there has to be a medium through which they can interact together, and changes done in his screen or his panel should be represented or reflected in the other panel. So this is done through version control. Then we have maintaining the code standards. While writing the code, we should make sure that the code standards have been maintained. That is, we cannot make use of the shortcuts or any easier methods while developing the code. At that moment, it might be easier, but then in the later upcoming times when we perform rigorous testing on each and every aspect, the loopholes would come out. That was about the coding part. Then we have technical testing part. So in testing, it is a continuous process which starts from the initial segment and it continues even after the deployment also. That is continuous process. Then software quality. When we are testing, our main aim is to make sure that the user requirements are met. There are no errors in the software, and the user and the software quality of the software is maintained. So for this, we get the rapid feedback. XP emphasizes on getting rapid feedback from the customers and then fixing these issues quickly. Then we have automated testing. Automated testing, we make use of the unit tests which are automated and run frequently to ensure that the new changes don't break the existing functionality. Then we have acceptance testing. Acceptance testing, customers perform acceptance testing based on the predefined criteria to validate that the system meets the needs or not. Then we have the continuous integration. Continuous integration, we test regularly, and whenever the changes are there, we integrate it and then test further. So that was about continuous testing. Next we have is the deployment. In deployment, whatever the code we have written and it is at the final stage, it is ready to be presented to the customer. So we ensure that the product is in hands of stakeholder as quick as possible. XP emphasizes that if suppose our project is taking 5 weeks to get completed, by making use of XP methodology, we can complete it in 2 weeks, because XP it helps in all the aspects, right? From the design part, planning part, it makes sure that each and every step is being useful and there's no time or resource wastage. Okay, so as quick as possible. Then gather feedback. Once the project is deployed, we have to gather feedback from the customers in order to improve it further. That is what continuous integration speaks of. Then we have adjusting the development process. So depending on the user and user specifications, whatever the project we have developed should be customized, right, at that particular stage. So when deploying it in the customer's system, of course, there might be certain changes or compatibility issues could arise. So all those need to be considered. Then we have feedback from the customer. So yeah, again, feedback from customer is pretty crucial, because depending on those feedbacks, we'll be further reconstructing or dealing with the system. Then we have frequent releases. So as and when each and every functionality is ready, we have to produce it or deploy it to the customer. By doing this, so we can understand if our project is parallel with the customer's expectations or requirements or not. Then we have continuous deployment. Again, as and when project gets completed, you have to deploy it. Like in This deployment could be automated, allowing new features and fixes to be released immediately after they are tested. So this was about the XP life cycle. So if they ask about XP life cycle, draw this diagram, first one, that depicts that within each and every week, this particular life cycle repeats. Okay, so this was about the XP life cycle, and make sure you elaborate all these points properly. Next, moving on further, we have XP team. So in XP team is composed of diverse roles. So a team might be comprising of different sorts of people, right? So of different cadre, right? Cadre, or there's like they might be good at different domains. So each playing a crucial role in development process. So in the XP's team strength lies in its diversity and collaboration. So while forming a team in XP team, we make sure that people from different domains of different diverse roles are considered, because this helps to not only view the project from various perspectives, but also to like quickly solve the problem, quickly complete the like development, and then move on to the further part. Okay, so each member brings the unique skills and perspectives, contributing a balanced and efficient development process that prioritizes customer satisfaction and software quality. So our ultimate goal is satisfaction and quality, right? So this was about the intro part for XP team. Let's look into who are the members of XP team. Okay, so first we have is the programmers. So programmers play a main role. So they are responsible for minimizing the product's cost, ensuring that the code's quality and standards are met. And they also have right or the responsibility to fix if there are any errors while writing the code. Next we have is the product manager. Product manager is like he is the central foundation of, he is the main pillar behind all the project execution. So product managers or product owners make sure that the project aligns with the market values or the customer needs, and like in time it should be completed. Then we have the domain experts. Domain experts are those people who have a great knowledge about a particular domain. So this domain could be related to any aspect of our project. So next we have is the interaction designer. Interaction designer is they define the product's user interface. The UI UX designer could be termed as interaction designer. Okay, so they make sure that the appealing, the aesthetics of our project or the website is proper. Then we have the testers. Testers make sure that there are no errors in the software which we have written, and it obeys all the user specifications, the standard quality is met and all. Next we have the designers and architects. Designers and architects aim to develop the entire project architecture properly, and this development and design should be in incremental order. Okay, and we come up with like simple designs overcoming the complex scenarios. Okay, their importance, I would say, is like without a proper design, without a complete design, we cannot move further. Next we have is the technical specialists. Technical specialists could be the ones who hold specialization in a particular technical aspect. So these specialists bring focused expertise in a particular functionality of our software. They make sure that our software is working properly, or whatever function we are performing is proper and correct with respect to that particular technical domain. Then we have business analyst. Business analyst, again, they make sure that whatever project we are developing should be valuable, is it really worth doing that project? If not, we should not work on it. And what makes the project worth in the market? So all these things are analyzed by the business analyst. So it is important that they are present always. They understand the market value. Along with that, they also make sure that the market price, market demands, and the project which you are developing both are in parallel. Okay, then we have last is the on-site customers and stakeholders. So it is pretty essential to make sure that on-site customers or anyone from the stakeholders team is present in our project. By having so, they'll be the representative of that particular of the client side. So as and when we require any suggestions or changes, we can contact them or have a conversation with them. It makes pretty easier to take day-to-day decisions and then work accordingly. Okay, so that was about on-site customers. So this is about team XP team. So if they ask, make sure you write why is it important to have diverse people firstly, what is the XP team, and then followed by that specify these 9-10 roles. Okay, team roles. Then we have evaluating the suitability of XP for a specific project or organization. So firstly, we have is the management support. So in order to complete or exercise a particular project, the management support is pretty necessary, right? So XP requires strong management support as it involves significant changes and practices to be included or inculcated. So suppose I have a company, I'm an employer, I'm an employee in a particular company, and I feel like if we inculcate XP in our team, we can work better. For implementing the XP in our team, I should make sure that the management is also supporting me, right? So if management values quick delivery and customer satisfaction, then we can make use of XP at that point, right? So customers involvement, again, it is again a XP feature, right? So management support is pretty important. After management is approved, we need the team agreement. That is, only if I feel that XP is useful and none of my teammates are feeling so, then it is of no use in working or thriving towards getting it implemented, right? Because all the team members should obey, and they should understand that by inculcating XP in our project, it will definitely lead to efficiency. Then we have the co-located team. That is, XP thrives fast, high bandwidth communication. This means that in a hybrid approach, if I'm sitting at my home, you're sitting in your home, and then we are working on a project, it may not be that sufficient, right? But then if you're having a co-located team, that is, if all the team members are sitting together and working on a project, that is side by side, it'll definitely enhance the communication and then collaboration, and it'll surely thrive towards the faster completion of our project, right? We'll be discussing about this in the third module. Then we have the on-site customers. So again, it also depends on on-site customers whether they are whether they want us to implement XP or not. Then we have the team size. So team size, XP is best suited for small to medium teams, like it could be 4 to 12 members. So small teams can easily maintain the communication, and they can do the XP, all the activities properly, right? For a team of 20, dividing into sub teams and then following XP would be like confusion, would be a hectic task, right? Then we have use of all XP practices. So XP practices are independent, and we can either start developing it right from the scratch only, and if we don't require any process, then we can skip it also. But then make sure that skipping one particular one particular practice should not affect the other practice, okay? One particular step should not affect the next step. Then we have the code base and technology. So a clean, easily understandable code is very important for XP. So it relies on continuous factoring and integration. So like if my project involves an old system that's hard to change, XP may not work properly there, right? Then I have the project demands. So again, depending on the on-site customer and the project demands, we can make sure that our XP works properly there or not. So this was about the evaluating the suitability of XP for a specific project. So all these factors play an important role whether we should apply XP in our project or not, whether we should apply XP in our organization or not. Moving on further, we have the core practices of extreme programming and their significance. So core practices, again a 10-mark question, guys. So first one we have is pair programming. Pair programming means we we make two programmers work together, and by doing so we can enhance the collaboration, communication, knowledge sharing, and all of that. So yeah, that was about pair programming. Next we have the test driven development. In test driven development, writing tests before writing the corresponding code. By doing so, we can make sure that our code is working properly. Like we can ensure that the code is always validated against the tests, and if there are any bugs also, we can rectify it in the first go only. So this was about the test driven development. Then we have the continuous integration. Continuous integration means as and when we are performing changes, we should make sure that those changes are reflected, integrated in our system. Along with this, continuous integration has another definition, that is when we test the functionalities, when we work upon the functionalities as small units, and later when we are combining it, this combination and then again again testing of it should happen instantaneously. That comes under continuous integration. Then we have simple design. Simple design is like we should make sure that our design is simple and the customer needs are satisfied. Then we have is refactoring. Refactoring means we should continuously improve the design of the code without changing its functionality. Okay. Then we have small releases. So instead of giving out a big chunk of project or a big chunk of software delivery, we can make sure that each and every functionality, each and every unit is being released on certain iterations. By doing so, we can take the real-time feedback from the customers, and we can also get to know how it works in actual scenario. After deployment, our project might work differently, but then in our system, in our environment, it might work differently. So by having small releases in time to time, it will be easy for us to understand and work upon thriving efficiency in our releases. On-site customers. So it is very important to have on-site customers in our company, because they can give immediate feedback and clarify if I have any doubts in whatever the requirements they have told. Next I have is collective code ownership. Collective code ownership means any team member can make changes to any part of the code at any time, right? So this promotes shared responsibility for the code database, and this will also help us to enhance the quality of code and remove if there are any loopholes in the code. So next we have a sustainable pace. So we should make sure that all the employees are working in a sustainable pace, and it should not be like out of 4 people, one person has to do everything and rest 3 will sit and test. It doesn't work that way. Or it could be like all the employees are working for 14 hours. No, even that doesn't work. Sustainable pace should be maintained in our XP practice. Next we have is applying XP in phase-based organization. First one we have is planning phase adaptation. Planning phase adaptation means we make use of mandatory planning phase to conduct real XP iterations. That is, instead of creating a detailed plan, we can go up with small plans, right? So for this week we'll do this much work. Next week, depending on what is the output of the previous year's week, the previous week's work, we'll come up with the next week's iteration, the next week's plan. So that was about planning phase adaptation. Then we have handling the analysis phase. So it is handling the analysis phase means we'll convert the required document into user stories. By converting into user stories, it will be easy for us to understand, like, if this happens, what could happen? If this is a condition, this could happen, and all the different scenarios or different aspects could be understood by handling the analysis phase. Then we have is design phase adaptation. Design phase adaptation is we perform incremental design during the design phase. With the starting of the phase, we come up with a basic design and then we give it to the customer, and taking the feedback from customer, we again try to build up a better design. So that's how it keeps on iterating. Then we have fourth one, that is executing the code phase. In executing the code phase, divide coding phase into 1 week iterations. That is, first week we'll all sit and make sure that basic functions, basic coding part of our actual allotted functionalities have been done. After that, we show it to customer. He'll be like, okay, you can further proceed. Or we can, or when we test this, we come up with 99%. If 99% is not possible, we come up with 80% of error freeness. Then we can again further develop this code in the next phase and then come up with a better code. So that's how executing the code phase works. Then we have integrating the XP with testing phase. That is, again, once we write the code here, we should make sure that it is tested here. So tested is a continuous process which happens along with the coding phase. Then we have adapting the development phase. After performing the testing, you use XP's readiness for deployment at the end of each iteration. So coming to like a phase-based organization, the implementation of XP happens in phases here, be it from the planning phase or the analysis phase or the design phase or the coding phase or the testing phase or the deployment phase. We have studied all this in the XP life cycle, right? So same thing you can write here. So this was about the phase-based organization approach. Moving on further, we have a concept called as existing project. So if we have to apply XP in our existing project, how will we do it? Okay. So for that, firstly, our existing project, we should make sure that the XP practices are applied to our project in incremental order, right? That is the first point. Then we have to address the technical debt, that is allot time to pay down the technical debt. That is the main challenge in XP to an existing project, is to maintain the technical debt. Plan to reduce this debt incrementally while continuing to work on the new stories creating a balance between the old work and the new work which we are working upon. Then addressing the technical debt done, we have to organize and clean the bug database. So whichever database our existing project has, we have to like detailedly look into each of those and properly arrange it from XP's perspective, and then if there are any bugs, rectify those bugs. Then our next is prioritize and fix the bugs. Again, we have to once errors are found or once the faults are found, we should again make sure that we are prioritizing it, because if the bug with highest priority is not solved first and the bug with lowest priority is solved first, solving the lowest has minimal to no impact on the execution of code, the main code, whereas bug with higher priority should be solved first, because if I don't solve it, I may not be able to execute my project further. So in existing project, I should firstly try to implement the XP or start implementing the XP in incremental order, one step. If there are any technical debts, I should make sure that all those are addressed. Then I should look into the database, what is the scenario there, how inefficient it is, and then try rectifying it. Then I should look into the bugs which are present there, and I should start fixing those bugs. Okay. Moving on further, we have shift the testers focus. So here we move the testers from a manual to more strategic tasks, like developers implement test-driven development and build an automated regression suite. Testers can focus on more exploratory testing and ensuring that the new features meet the acceptance criteria. So this was about the shifters focus. By applying XP incrementally to an existing project, we can systematically address the technical debt, streamline the bug management, and improve the code quality. So this approach ensures continuous progress on new features while gradually transforming legacy code into the actual code by using XP principles. If we have to deal about the brand new project, if we have to apply XP in our brand new project, what will we do? Let's look into them. Firstly, when we are starting a brand new project with XP, it is crucial to jump into iterative development right away. Okay, focusing on developing a complete but a small piece of functionality. So once you start developing, that's when you can implement XP into our project, right? So first step is iterative, like establishing technical infrastructure and involving all stakeholders from beginning ensures that the project starts on good note. So we have to make sure that all the stakeholders are involved, and then technical infrastructure, whichever is required for our project, is present. By having these basic foundations, we can build upon very easily. So our first step would be to start with the iterative planning. That is, we begin with the real iterations from day one. Be it hello world program, start writing it, start implementing it, and that's how you will start developing it. Then we have focus on the vertical step. Vertical step here could be writing down the logic part or the UI part or whatever the functionalities are there, all of that. Okay, start writing down that, and then after the iterative planning, start implementing all those one by one. Then we have technical infrastructure. So while you have written down the user stories and all of that here, make sure that those are aligning with the technical infrastructure here. Try implementing this with the technical infrastructure. That is the system compatibility, there should not be any errors, version control is used here, and all of that. Then we have collaborating, coding, start. So make sure that if you're a team of 10 people, make sure that you are divided into 4 or 5 and you start working on each and every functionality. So having a deadline driven development is again useful here, because each team will come up with a product, will come up with a functionality in 1 week's time. So by doing so, the week will work, the team will work efficiently, and they'll come up with proper results. Then we have customer tester involvement. So it is very crucial to involve the customer as well as the tester in the planning phase itself, in the starting phase itself, because customer will give his inputs and the tester will give whether whatever planning we are performing is feasible or not. Along with tester, even the developers should be present there to give their insights. Then we have transition to the pair programming. Once all these steps are done, once we feel like, yeah, our team has started implementing XP and we are good with it, we can go further. That's when we can implement the pair programming. We'll study about pair programming in depth in the upcoming modules, in the third module. Okay. Next, after that, we have release plan strategy. Releasing planning strategy. So it is very important to look into what are the strategies being implemented on how to release the iterations, how to release the functionalities in our XP. Okay, so firstly we prioritize features. So these features have to be customer centric. That is, from the customer's perspective, he will tell or she will tell which feature should be released first. Along with the customer centric, it should also be business value. That is, depending on the market, depending on the business goals, I should also look, okay, by releasing this particular feature, will it be of any use? So by checking that, we can move further. So if I consider WhatsApp application, releasing UPI payment option before releasing the chat option is of no use, right? So we should make sure that first chat option is released, because that's how it will be feasible, or it will be worthy installing that application for people, right? So next we can move on to further iterations. We have to estimate the effort. That is, we can make use of story points here. So by using story points, we can come across each and every user story, and we can consider what is the complexity, how much time, size it all required. And then team collaboration. Team collaboration is very important, because while estimating the efforts, or if all the team members are sitting there from different domain, if everyone is sitting there, it will help us to understand where we could have, where we have gone wrong, how can we improve it further. Then we have managing the dependencies. Managing the dependencies could be solved or could be addressed by sequential planning. So that is, we have to identify and address the dependencies between the features like early to avoid the bottlenecks. So right from the starting only, we should plan, not entirely, but then each and every iteration we have to come up with a plan, so that if I complete this much in this particular week, I can move on to the further plan. Sequentially I am planning it. Then I have incremental delivery. So I should structure the plan to deliver independent valuable increments. That is, if I deliver a product or a functionality today, by the next week if I deliver the functionality, it should be an upgraded version of the previous week's functionality, and the upgraded version of functionality should make sure that it is meeting the actual goal or the actual development, right? So with each step we should meet our project completion. That is what our goal is. So by following these three criteria, we can make sure that our releasing plan strategy is successful. Moving on further, we have iteration planning strategy. Iteration planning strategy means how will we iterate, how will we plan iteratively. Okay, so the first one is break down user stories. So by breaking down the user stories into smaller particles, by decomposing it into smaller tasks, we can complete it in one iteration only, right? When we have smaller tasks, it will be easy for us to complete in one iteration rather than execution of an entire user story. Then we have task detailing. So it is very important to provide specification of the task. So the task should be easy and understandable by the developer. Not just that, the task has to be it should get executed properly, and the acceptance criteria should be proper here. Then we have estimate the duration. Estimate the duration is we will calculate depending on what requirements have been told. We'll calculate how much time will it take. So relative estimation. So depending on the requirements told, what would be the resources. During the initial planning only, we'll come up with this estimation. Okay. Then after having the relative estimation, we'll now get into the actual building of our project or actual building of our iteration. So we'll sit with all the team members, all the stakeholders, everyone, and we'll discuss okay, so these are all the functionalities, these are all the technical aspects, all this testing and deployment should be done. So it will take this much time for this particular functionality to get executed. Then we have allot task. So again, to allot task, we can make use of the pair programming, and pair programming is two people working in pair. And then we have the skill matching. So we should ensure that the tasks are allotted based on the team members' strength. Suppose a person might be good in a particular field, a particular domain, and other person might be good in another domain. So we should make sure that our team comprises of such talented and skillful employees. So this was about iteration planning process in XP. So we have tried covering all the important questions from second module. So right from advantages and disadvantages of XP, how to master Agile, done. Need diagram of XP lifecycle, done. XP team in detail, done. Prerequisites to practice XP, done. Recommendations for adapting XP, done. XP concepts, done. And then phase-based organization, brand new organization, existing organization also done. So I have covered all the important topics of second module. Stay tuned. I'll be uploading third module video soon. If you have any doubts, do let me know in the comments, and the notes would be available in description. Stay tuned. Thank you.